All right, good evening and welcome. You are tuned in and watching The Zone Blitz. This is the weekly webcast produced by NFL Female, www.nflfemale.com. Be sure to jump on our website and check out all the latest and greatest articles by our writers, our official fan reporters who report on all 32 teams. I am Sharona. I am the official NFL fan reporter for NFL Female. And tonight we're going to be talking about the AFC North. And so without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to my co-host, Sonja. Sonja, how are you? I love the hat, by the way.
Thank you. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patty's Day. Woo!
Happy St. Patty's Day, everybody. I am Sonja. I'm the official fan reporter for the Detroit Lions for NFL Female. I am still talking about my second favorite division, just like we talked about before we went on air. Outside of the NFC North is the AFC North. So I'm really excited today. Of course, we've got Gwen with us, and we've got longtime friend Kate, who hasn't been on in a while. So we're glad to have you.
I know.
So thank you so much for coming to join us. Kate, why don't you say hi to everybody?
Hi, everybody. Greetings from a fairly warm Cleveland, Ohio today.
I hear you. How high did you get today?
I think it got up into the 40s.
Exactly, same here.
This is the only place I know where it's 12 degrees one day and 40 the next, and people are wearing shorts and flip-flops and T-shirts because they think it's a heat wave.
Yep.
Sounds like Tennessee.
I was about to say, pretty much here.
Yeah.
And Gwen, hello, good evening. How are you?
I'm good. I'm Gwen. I am the NFL Female official fan reporter for the Ravens.
Thank you for helloing Nada. Thank you for helloing Nada. We appreciate that. Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really looking forward to having him on our team. This is the little NFC North plug since I wasn't here last weekend celebrating my husband's birthday. So yes, very glad to have Haloti Nada on. Very glad to have Tyron Walker from the Saints on our team. So yeah, pleased with the moves. And the last thing I'll say about Mr. Sue for tonight anyway is, guys, come on. Let's move on. It's okay. We didn't get the cap hit. Let's keep it moving. Tell me about the Browns, Kate. How was their season?
Y'all can see I'm wearing my Ohio State gear today.
I know.
All the time, how come people in Ohio who didn't even go to Ohio State are Buckeyes fans? And I said, because it balances out against being Browns fans. You got to have something good to look forward to on the weekend.
Exactly.
After
and just
seasons
because you
like
didn't
we've had,
go there doesn't mean you can't be a fan.
I know. We were 7-9 last year, and while part of me really wants to celebrate the fact that we finally won more than 3 games, I get stuck looking at what that team could have been. If we don't lose Alex Mack, our Pro Bowl franchise center, early in the season, we probably win 3 or 4 more games, and we give the other people in our division a run for the playoffs. And it all just seemed to go downhill from there. Our biggest problem is quarterback. It's been quarterback really since we came back into the league in '99, and that picture's not getting any better. Johnny Manziel has taken himself off to rehab.
Is he out yet?
No,
yeah, he's still there. He's still there. Very little interaction with the team, very little communication. I hope that means he's taking it seriously and he's getting himself healthy.
It sounds like it is. There's reports saying that.
He took a trip home and I think had a long talk with his family. His family's been, urging him for a while now to kind of take a look at his behavior and and the patterns of things that he's done in the past that has given him problems. And I think that contributed to his decision to finally, go to rehab and get straight. A lot of the fans here just want to write him off after 6 bad quarters last year. And I tend to think of it more as from a parental standpoint of having raised kids myself and having kids in their 20s. They don't know what they don't know.
Right.
And Johnny didn't know how hard the NFL was and how big that transition was from college to the NFL until he had those 6 quarters. And frankly, having Kyle Shanahan as your offensive coordinator who designs the longest, most difficult plays to describe and call in the huddle didn't do him any favors. He had trouble in the huddle just telling the other guys what the plays were, and the offensive lineman had to finish, the words so that everybody knew what play they were running. So I'm not ready to write him off. I'm hoping it's one of those deals where now that he realizes just how much work he should have been doing, he's got a playbook with him at rehab, and he's studying something. I don't know whose playbook, because we have a brand new offensive coordinator. We stole Mr. DeFilippo from the Oakland Raiders. But, in the meantime, we've signed Josh McCown. The big rumor in Cleveland today is that we made an offer for Sam Bradford, wanted to trade our number 19 overall pick. We have 2 picks in the first round, the number 12 that we earned from playing badly, and the number 19 that we got in the trade last year with Buffalo. So that was the big rumor about 5-6 hours ago, is that we offered the number 19 pick for Sam Bradford, and they turned it down, which I find interesting because I think that's a respectable. I don't know that I would pay that much for him.
I would have taken that and ran.
But I've got Josh McCown. We just signed Thaddeus Lewis back, and the only people who know Thaddeus Lewis would be Buffalo fans and Cleveland fans, because he's here and then he's gone, and then he's here and then he's gone. He never actually gets onto the field, but he's just here all the time. We love him in preseason at training camp. Yeah. So we've got an issue at quarterback, and it just feels like if Johnny's not the answer, whether they bring in Bradford, whether they bring in McCown, the crazy trade rumors today going around as of an hour ago is that San Diego might be willing to shop Phillip Rivers. Yeah. So anything else feels like a Band-Aid. It doesn't feel like a long-term solution.
I don't know if I believe some of these rumors, though, Kate.
Yeah, I agree.
The hot news was that Jordan Cameron was heading back. In terms of Brown news, not even maybe a week ago, he was back in the fold. They were going to re-sign him, and they weren't even talking to him.
4 hours between.
I think that there are a lot of wannabes out there. I think that there are a lot of wannabes out there who are pretending to have information, and it's messing up the system.
It happens at this time every year because the draft is coming up and you're in free agency and people are trying to position themselves to say, well, I don't need a quarterback. I'm not taking Mariota. I'm not taking Jameis Winston. I'm taking, trying to bluff their way through what they want to do at the draft. And that play started the day after the Super Bowl. People were already misleading everyone on what they were going to do, what they weren't going to do. So we've shored up, at least from a Brown standpoint, we did some nice work on our defense. We signed Tramon Williams from the Green Bay Packers yesterday to our defensive backfield, and that's a huge deal. You put him in the backfield with the likes of Tashawn Gibson, who'll be back healthy, and Joe Hayden and Dante Whitner, Ohio State alumni. And our defense is going to be very, very, very respectable. My problem is going to be the same one I had last year. You don't win games 0-0. At some point, you have to actually score on offense. And if we don't figure out quick what's going on with that offense and with the Super Bowl or with the quarterback position, I don't know how we can hope for 8-8. And I get tired of that being my goal.
8-8. Yeah. I understand. I do have to agree with you. I think it is too early to call it quits on Johnny Manziel right now, and I appreciate the fact that he is in rehab and that he is trying to get himself together. I think you'd be concerned if you didn't see that out of him, or at least some sort of humbleness or something like that going into the second season. So I do appreciate that, and I respect the fact that he is, trying to get the help that he needs. So hopefully, and plus, you guys spent a lot for him. I mean, it was a first-round pick.
We did.
You do kind of want to use your first-rounder, right?
Yeah, we did, and we lost, Mr. Gordon, Mr. Josh Gordon, wide receiver extraordinaire, failed himself yet another drug test, and he's out for a year. So we've got enough problem children. I think the overwhelming feeling about Johnny Manziel right now is if he gets out of rehab and he comes to training camp, he needs to show us something because he talks really well. He gives good press conference, as they say, and he says exactly the right things, and you believe him. And then 2 days later, he's in a fight outside of his apartment after the bar closed or something else happens. It's time now for the fans, if he wants us to believe in him and if he wants to really understand the power you can have as a quarterback in this league if you're good and if the fans are behind you. He needs to do more is showing me stuff on the field and less showing me stuff off the field. So that'll be the test, is if he gets into training camp and he actually looks like he's learned something, I think people will jump right back on the Johnny bandwagon and he'll be good to go.
Well, I hope that he'll not go from Johnny football to Johnny rehab, and that they'll kind of leave him alone. That's the problem. Now they're going to have something else to focus on, and hopefully that he doesn't get distracted by that, and then he can just come out, and if he wants to be a new person, a new player, then that's that. And he's not going to get distracted by what the press is going to try to make a huge deal of, which, like they always do, which is part of the problem. So
yeah, I mean, it's all on his shoulders.
Yeah,
it's his decision, and his choices now are going to decide whether or not he actually becomes an NFL quarterback or not.
Yeah, but I want to say something about that too. Listen, Johnny Manziel wasn't new to the media. He knew what the media was all about down at Texas A&M. So he didn't need to have some big shot look on his face that the NFL media is going to be all over him. He saw that during the draft process. He saw it, but he was still out there doing the money. I think part of the problem is that he loves it and he hates it, and you see that a lot with these guys who feed off of that. They both love the media. They love it when they love you. They don't, but they don't respond well when when the media questions you. And I don't like to see any player. The media can be a bit of a handful. There's no question. And some of the things that they do, you're like, and they do like to twist your words and all of that. But, I think that a lot, you can say this with most, I can say it about myself. Most of our problems are because of the things that we do. And I just hope that he understands that.
I think he got a dose of that this year, because there's a difference between being a high school quarterback in Texas or being a college quarterback in Texas, where people might keep some things to themselves, might keep things quiet, might not, they don't want you to appear in a bad light, or if you do something, they all just kind of laugh about it. No, that's just Johnny being Johnny. But the NFL's different, and it's a lot more cutthroat, and it's a lot more serious, and there's big money riding on it, from season tickets to fantasy football to whatever you want to, there's just a ton of money involved in the NFL, and nobody's going to cut you any break if you haven't proven yourself. Tom Brady and Peyton Manning get breaks now that Johnny doesn't get, because Johnny hadn't proved anything in the NFL. If he'd have had a really good season or two and then started doing some of this crap, people would have laughed it off and it wouldn't have been a big deal. But they were almost looking to tear him down, and I don't think he was expecting that. He's been the favorite son for so long that the media attention itself didn't surprise him. Just, I think some of the negative connotations in the media seemed to really take him by surprise. But
they were saying
negative to grow.
But they were saying negative things about him when he was at Texas A&M. I mean, they were. Maybe it was just a situation where he was the guy, he knew he was the guy, and it didn't affect him as much, whereas now, he's having to
design that whole system around him. I mean, they didn't have a playbook. It was pretty much, it was a lot like watching the Cavaliers play basketball. Just give him the ball and let him do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
Just give LeBron the ball and let him do what he wants to do. It was give Johnny the football and let him go. But you can't do that in the NFL. You have to know your plays. You have to know where everybody else is going to be. You have to learn that system. And I don't think he realized, he didn't know what he didn't know. I don't think he realized just how much more he was going to have to work to be a quarterback. It wasn't going to come easy anymore.
Yeah, I'll agree. I mean, when he was down
there,
there,
adjust to it. I agree with that, but a guy who's out there with a bunch of money in his hand as a phone, or acting like that he's snorting cocaine, he's voluntarily posing for these photographs.
Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. And that's what we talked about.
Don't come to me with a big shot look on your face when people look at that and go, this guy doesn't get it, and he's not going to last long in the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, you had to register for training camp last year and get tickets ahead of time. We've never had to register for training camp before, but we knew the circus that was going to come to town with Johnny before he got here. So everybody seemed to know but him. I keep telling myself he's 21. He's so young. He's young. So young. And again,
he's very young.
I've just been a mom too long. I have 4 kids that are very different, and they were very different maturity-wise at 21. And he's that 21-year-old that has all the talent, all the ability, all the potential, all the money, which is probably a bad thing, and hasn't had to really test himself yet. And he's going to be tested now, and I'm really hoping, for the sake of my football team, that he rises to that challenge, because otherwise I'm starting all over again in next year's draft or this year. I don't think they can get anybody this year, so I think they're going to give him a year. I'll be watching college football next year. Maybe Cardale Jones from the Ohio State University will want to play football next year. I'm sorry, I have to take my happiness where I can find
it. Oh, goodness. I won't steal that from you for the most, although I do still have my Michigan sweatshirt right here. Ward off the evil forces. Anyways, so, the Johnny Manziel saga, and I kind of think that, down in Texas, like you guys said, he was the man. And it was easier to kind of look at the other people as just haters. They don't want to see me succeed. They're just jealous because I can have fun and do all this and go to Vegas. Yeah, well, hun, not anymore. And I think that's what he's seeing now is that, when I come to the NFL, it's a big boy league, and I got to be an adult. And so he obviously is having issues growing up.
Well, he wins me 10 or 12 games. He can lay on a swan with strippers and cash and coke and drugs and do whatever he wants. But when you have a plate down,
no, don't do that.
Then you finally get to play.
Just don't get suspended, right?
Exactly.
Well, don't get caught.
Don't. Yeah.
I could have quarterbacked that team better than he did those 6 quarters last year, and that's pathetic. So it's put up or shut up time. You don't have enough in the bank to cash those checks with me yet.
True.
Other than that, we're great.
Oh, good.
Except for that quarterback position, we're great.
Oh, good. Very, very good. And Rhonda, how's your team doing? I mean, yeah, Rhonda. Why did I call you Rhonda? I didn't mean to call you Rhonda. Gwen.
Like, who's Rhonda?
Rhonda.
I was like, with some people call me Rona. I was like, is she talking to me? I'm not sure.
I don't know why Rhonda keeps coming in.
Listen, it's been a day, I think, for all of us. I think we should all just take a deep breath, because I know I've had a day. I'm going to take a drink of wine.
But yes, you got your vino.
It is St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day. Do they make wine in Ireland? I bet they do.
I'm sure
they make beer and ale.
I was about to say they make beer and ale, so I'm sure from some of the leftover hops, they probably make some form of hoppy wine. I don't know. I'm not a wine drinker, so I don't know. Oh, goodness. All right, Miss Gwen, tell us about...
I'm the resident wine drinker of the group.
Yes, you are. You're the one that tells us all about the fine wine.
So we made the signing today for the safety, Kendrick Lewis, and I was watching some of his highlights, and I really, really like him. I kept thinking when I was watching him, when he'd go after the ball and he'd catch the ball, I was like, he looked like a wide receiver. I was like, it doesn't look like he just looks extremely athletic. Come to find out, he did play wide receiver back in the day. I'm glad that we have a vet that's still fresh and can come in, and they are hoping that maybe he can mentor with Matt Elam, which God knows he needs it, to come along with, now we've done restructure today, Lardarius Webb. Well, basically, he took a pay cut, and he wants to stay a Raven for life, and that's admirable, and I'm good with that. And Smith, as long as his foot is better and he's healthy, I think we need one more pick. I don't know who that's going to be for another quarterback, but that's a nice step up.
Now, Tyrod Taylor signed with the Bills. Are you going to miss him?
Not that I did say cornerback. Before. I know, because he never really got a chance to play unless we were completely blowing somebody out.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't think, hopefully he learned a lot from Joe, but he didn't really get a chance to prove anything. Great guy, nice guy, and I really, really hope that he has a chance to prove it in Buffalo, and he wins that job. We still need to be looking for wide receivers now.
Yeah.
We need to complain about Torrey last year not taking over the #1 receiver spot. There's nobody that's produced as much as Torrey produced. Yeah, we have Steve Smith, but he's, 36? And we have a new guy. Huh?
He was like looking all young out there last year.
He was. Ice up, son. He iced up.
He did.
Marlon Brown, who I think will probably get more of a chance this year without Torrey being there. I really, really like him. He's a quiet player. He's really good. Still have Kamar Aiken and Mike Campanaro if he can stay healthy. So we need to pick up some of them. I was very happy with the Justin Forsett pickup.
Yes. I was just going to ask you that.
I mean, what a story he is in general, and just how, I think he's just going to show people that he's been sitting there for a long time. He's still got the gas left in him. It doesn't matter if he's 32 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy with that re-signing too.
Yeah, I thought that was a good signing too. Is there anybody out there in free agency that you're looking at, hoping the Ravens might pick up?
Was it Crabtree? Is he still open?
He's still out there. There's apparently not a big market for him. Nobody's interested in signing him, which I think is kind of weird.
I think so too.
I don't know. Maybe they're going to draft a bunch of wide, because they haven't. You sent me that article today about how we haven't picked up wide receivers in a while. So maybe that'll be a big thing in the draft. They're going to pick up a lot of wide receivers.
As I say, there's quite a few in this year's draft, so I don't think you could go wrong.
Yeah, because the last one was Torrey, basically. That was the star. So I don't know where all that production's going to come from. I hope it's going to come from a lot of different people if one person just can't do it.
If you had to list between wide receiver and the secondary in terms of their bigger needs, which one would you pick?
I guess I'm so scared because the secondary was so bad last year. If they can stay healthy, but nobody could stay healthy. I think they re-signed Anthony Levine, Asa Jackson, who I always loved, but he couldn't stay healthy either. So I think they're planning on bringing back Will Hill, but if they get one more and everybody stays healthy, I think would be good. That was the biggest problem last year, I think. Because I think we have kind of deep, young wide receivers, but I think we're okay.
Are y'all over the whole Ray Rice thing?
I am.
Does that still come up? Well, does that still come up out there? I know I saw you guys, like you said, signed, extended Forsett, which I like. I had him as a backup on my fantasy football bench. Him and Steve Smith Sr., my husband, had, and then he kept not playing him, and I kept telling him, that old boy's playing, you better play him. And he ended up having a very nice year. But I just wondered if it still comes up every once in a while, or if everyone's just moved on from it.
I think people still miss him, but I think it made it easier last year that Justin Forsett just destroyed it.
Yeah.
Came out of nowhere, and there wasn't really anybody missing Ray. I mean, he's missed by the community, and he's missed by the other players and stuff, but it is what it is.
Do you think he'll ever play in the NFL again?
I hope so, but I don't know what team is going to take the chance.
They're going to take a chance on, looks like Dallas might sign Greg Hardy.
I hope so. I hope so. I think he deserves another chance. I think, he was the poster boy for all of this that started, and he hasn't gotten in trouble since. I don't know. I guess I feel
mixed feelings. Yeah.
Second chance. Everybody deserves a second chance. Now, if you ask me that about Michael Vick, I'm not going to say that. Even though, it's completely different. So.
Well, how do you feel about Greg Hardy?
Well, have they even charged him with anything yet? Was that what the problem was?
Charges got dropped.
Well, he went through a trial and got convicted, and then it got appealed. And he settled with her, and she didn't show up for the appeal hearing.
That's right.
Yeah, he came into court looking extremely casual that day. I do remember that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I've got a new headset on, and I'm having issues. Yeah, he had tennis shoes on.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the difference is because Ray went through every part of the process. What he was supposed to do. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. His wife was there, did exactly what she was supposed to do, because he had to follow the, I don't know. Maybe this guy seems a little shady to me too, but it's all these rules are still new, and they haven't really solidified anything yet, so these guys might get away with it.
I was about to say, I think that's probably the biggest thing is that rules have not really truly been solidified yet, and things are just it's kind of nebulous, if you will, They're just trying to figure out, and I think what needs to just happen is just, black and white, make it just, this is what it is, pretty much no ifs, ands, or buts.
Well, now, but Ray won, he won at the district court level, as I recall, and so he is, for all intents and purposes, reinstated and can be signed, right? I think that's correct. Greg Hardy. Are we boring you, Sonja? I'm so sorry, honey.
Yes, you are. I'm so bored right now. Hello. It's just been a long few days.
It has been a long. No, I'm just kidding. It has been a long day. We need to laugh more because it has been a long day.
Don't worry, I got the laughing covered.
Yeah.
Well, I think if nothing else, Gwen and I can agree that Pittsburgh sucks and Cincinnati sucks. So
well, there you
AFC
go.
North.
Yes.
Hey, now they don't all suck.
They're not here.
Speaking of Pittsburgh and guys with who've had some issues off the field, hey, how about that Ben Roethlisberger extension?
Yeah, that was a big extension. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. Seriously, you guys, I need to get out there and play some quarterback. I mean, let's be real.
I think that we could play better than some of these clowns out there.
Well, when the way the rules are, they can't even touch you anymore, so it's not even like we'd get hit.
Might as well. I mean, I can hold the clipboard. I can.
I can run the veer.
I can. See?
I can hand it off.
Backup quarterback.
Exactly. I can hand it off. It's not that hard. I think I can do it, guys. But no, that was a lot of money for Mr. Roethlisberger. But they kind of had to do it in a way. I mean, he has won a couple Super Bowls with them.
Oh, yeah.
And, got to lock him in. I don't think he was going to go anywhere anyway, but, got to lock him in. So he's there. He's a Steeler, and he's going to retire a Steeler. And so there's that. Now, that team, though, you got Le'Veon Bell, who did a wonderful job. And, but they're kind of getting aged. And they need some new blood in there, I think.
Now, they didn't resign. Wait a minute.
Troy Polamalu.
Troy Polamalu, yeah.
Yeah.
What is he doing? Is he going to retire?
Yeah, I think that they're just both. They're kind of like boxers in a boxing ring. One's in the one corner, one's in the other corner, and they're staring each other down. And maybe they'll come and hug it out in the middle of the ring. They did sign D'Angelo Williams.
Yes, they did.
From Carolina?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. He's another one whose better years are behind him.
Exactly.
We've been saying that about Pittsburgh for like the last couple years, and then they still manage to lose to us and then beat us and then go to the playoffs. I think every team in my division went to the playoffs except for mine last year, so I don't know what to tell you about Pittsburgh. Just when I think they're done and old and tired and have lost a step, they find a way to win games. It's I don't know if it's something in the water or if it's, I have a lot of grudging respect for Mike Tomlin and what he's done out there, and for just that whole program makes me just want to throw up that they can be that stable for that long and that good all the time. And and now I'm deep in Browns country, and because the Steelers are playing in the Hall of Fame game, I'm going to be overrun by Yinzers in August. They're going to be everywhere. That's why you can't get a hotel room. You won't be able to eat out because people just spit on the street there. So I shouldn't tell Pittsburgh jokes. I'm going to alienate our Pittsburgh audience. Their women don't shave their mustaches. I mean, I could go.
And it's trash talk Tuesday. You go right ahead.
I know. No more trash talking. But but they are in the Hall of Fame game, so that's going to make anyone who wants to come to Canton to Hall of Fame, when one of the teams is that close, there's just going to be a ton of people here. We don't even know who the enshrinees are yet. That usually helps because you'll get a big group from whatever team they're from. And they're already talking about starting off the season by winning the Hall of Fame game and then going 16-0. So
great, because that's going to happen.
No matter how old and tired you think Pittsburgh is, and they'll have a bunch of people with no names show up on the field on opening day, they're still going to manage to win 10, 11 games. I don't understand it, but it happens every year.
I think it's going to be interesting. Dick LeBeau retired and then came out of retirement to go play for his good old buddy Ken Wisenhunt in Tennessee for the Tennessee Titans.
How's that work out for you?
We're going to see. I mean, it just has transpired, and we haven't seen anything yet. I mean, they had Ray Horton. What a kick in the balls to him, eh?
We had Ray Horton.
Yeah. So anyway, it will be interesting to see, what happens with their defense and how, they've got some talent there. They are slowly and grudgingly getting younger there. I think that they're going to have to continue to do that. I don't remember which.
They have who? Antonio Brown, right?
Yes, wide receiver. Mm-hmm.
Yep, the wide receiver. Yeah, they have him.
And Martavius Bryant, I believe is his name. Martavius Bryant.
I think so. Yeah.
Very promising young wide receiver. And Heath Miller is still. I think he's still. I didn't catch any retirement news.
No, I think he's still there. He's still there.
Heath Miller's still going to be Heath Miller. I love that guy. I like to hate the Pittsburgh Steelers as much as anybody. Trust me on that. But I can't help but I love Heath Miller. I love his game. I think he's a very underrated tight end.
I do like Heath Miller. I do like his game a lot. He's a good guy. But yeah, I think that, like you said, begrudgingly they are getting a little younger, but they're like the stable in the in the AFC North, and they just they are going to be there. You can never count them out. They are always going to be there. I don't know what they do, how they do it, but they're there. They're always going to be there. Roethlisberger might throw 20 touchdowns in a game next season. I don't know, because that's just how they are.
Started off slow last year, but then he just came booming back. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
then they got James Harrison wherever the heck he was, and then he just comes and just destroys people. Did they release him again? Or is he not signed yet, or what?
Who's that? I was sorry.
James Harrison.
I was taking a glass of wine. Drinking a glass of wine. There's rumors that he's going to sign with the Titans. Come and play for Dick LeBeau.
Okay.
We'll see. We shall
that only
see.
leaves us with that mess in Cincinnati, and the question everybody wants to know: how does Marv still have a job?
Yeah, really, no doubt.
Even my friends who are Bengal fans don't understand how Marv Lewis still has a job. Between him and Andy Dalton. We're changing up everything here every time the wind blows, and in Cincinnati, they can't get rid of the people they blame for their problems. Andy can't win a playoff game, and I can't complain. I can't get into a playoff game.
I was about to say, at least he can get to the playoffs.
I'm not going to knock the hustle, baby,
But at some point, it does become a problem if you get to the playoffs every year and you can't get out of that first round.
They did bring Michael Johnson back.
And that's the biggest splash they've made this entire offseason. I mean, if you weren't looking for it, you didn't know it was going to happen. they've got a very good, solid team, but they need to do something to take that next step, and it just feels like they're very happy to just have another 10-win season, another one and done in the playoffs.
You know, Kate raises a good point, and Gwen and I talked a little bit about this last week. You know, the Ravens are a team that they don't typically make big splashes in free agency. I think last year Steve Smith was their biggest splash. Am I remembering that right, Gwen?
Yes, he was the biggest. I mean, I think we got lucky with Owen Daniel too. People kind of, you know, and he ended up being great.
You know, Ozzie Newsome's not a guy that goes out there and spends freely in free agency. I agree with Kate in that, you know, you can make your team better by you know, diving into the free agent market and picking up guys. But I also think that you know, you don't your more successful teams, your long-term successful teams, they don't do that. The Green Bay Packers, there's only one guy on the Green Bay Packers right now who wasn't an original Packer. Do you know who that was?
Ooh, shoot, I saw that today and I can't remember. I can see the picture of them all running out of the tunnel, and they said that this guy was not, oh God, I can't remember. Who was it? Julius Peppers. That's right.
The Ravens don't do it. You know, the Steelers don't typically do it. You know, I mean, the teams that I think really, now when you're a team like the Browns and the Titans, and I agree with Kate here because they're both teams that need talent. They haven't been successful in drafting players over.
But you know what? That's where it starts, and I like to talk about with the guys here about what I call draft quicksand. You have one bad draft, and the players just don't pan out for whatever reason. You start making crazy decisions. You spend too much money to keep the guys. You spend too much money in free agency. You draft a quarterback at 22 in 3 out of 5 drafts, and they don't, you know, we took Colt McCoy, we took Brandon Weeden, we took Johnny Manziel, all of them with the 22nd overall pick in the draft. Half of my first-round picks aren't even still here from the last 5 years. I think I have 3 guys from the last 5 years that are even still here. One bad draft can set you back 5 years. And I think it's how you recover from that shows that you're a Ozzie Newsome or a Scott Paoli or one of these guys who's sitting at the top of an organization. I don't know when the last time was the Ravens had a bad draft because they don't advertise that this was a draft bust and they don't go out and do crazy things to make up for that one bad guy. They let him go and move on with the plan. And I feel like my team is stuck in quicksand. We're still trying to make up for a bad draft 6 years ago, and we're never going to do it, but we're taking ourselves to the poorhouse for those 1 or 2 guys instead of just rebuilding it the right way and getting good value. We don't look after the first round. We don't look at the value you can get from a guy in the 2nd, in the 5th, in the 7th round. Shit, Tom Brady was what, a 5th or 6th rounder? I mean, you can get guys later in the draft that are good. It doesn't help when you're chasing your own tail or, like my team, firing your scouts and hiring a whole new coaching staff and all new scouts every year. You don't have any consistent data to use to pick those guys, so odds are your draft is going to be bad again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
You've got to have a system. You've got to have a system. You've got to believe in your system, and you've got to stick with the system and give it time to see if it's going to work. But the teams that we mentioned, I mean, I guess it goes back to how do you define a bad draft? The teams that we mentioned, generally speaking, hit on at least 3 or 4 core players in just about every single draft. You don't have to hit on every single draft pick, but if you're not hitting on at least 2 or 3 good guys that you can develop and keep as part of your team. And Kay, you and I both know the problem. You know, I talk about the Titans because they're local and I know them so well. For the Browns and the Titans, neither one of those franchises have successfully, in their current incarnation, have successfully drafted a franchise quarterback. And it all goes back to that.
It's your quarterback. It's your quarterback. I mean,
you're still chasing that. You're still giving up all the other pieces. I'm trading away 2 picks to get 1 quarterback, and when he doesn't work, I've lost the defensive end or the left tackle or the right guard or the guy that I need for depth because I didn't get to draft him because I was still chasing that quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and sometimes you've just got to bring in that veteran journeyman to, you know, to manage the team because, and I've talked about this with the Titans, they're not a good enough team to for a young quarterback to carry.
Right.
They're very, you know, maybe a Jameis Winston could, but I don't even know, you know, that's kind of the question, Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota right now. You've got to get good, solid pieces around your young quarterback, or they're just not going to be successful. And we've seen that.
Just like with Johnny Manziel, like you need somebody around to kind of teach him and guide him and help him develop.
Mm-hmm.
If they're good in college doesn't mean a damn thing in NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Right, exactly. And I was thinking
we addressed that on the defensive side of the ball. We very happily stole Paul Kruger from the Ravens a few years ago, and he has really been productive, and he's brought that veteran presence to the defense, sort of an older guy to keep the young guys in line and kind of help them find their identity, which they've done a nice job at. When you look at the quarterbacks coming out, Sharona, I really believe you guys would be better off with Jameis Winston, even though I like Marcus Mariota as a quarterback. If I had a team who only needed a quarterback, I would want him. But Jameis Winston has more experience with interceptions, with being down at the half, with having tough games to play in. And we all saw what happened to Mariota the first time he got in trouble. And the reality is if you're going to be a top 5 draft in the NFL, you're going to go to a team that only won 2 or 3 games last year.
Yeah.
You're going to face adversity. And you bring in some of these college quarterbacks who haven't lost a game since they were in 6th grade, and they don't know what to do on an NFL field when they're not winning.
Right.
Jameis is a winner, but he at least has had his share of bad games, has had his share of games where he's had to come back. He's had to play every minute of it. He's had to deal with the mistakes and get back on the field. So at least from that standpoint, I think he will do better in the NFL right away than Mariota will unless he gets drafted, you know, late 20s, early 30s by a team who's going to let him sit for a year or a team that's really good and just needs a little bit of help.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think that the argument that Jameis Winston might be a little bit more pro-ready has some truth to it. Marcus Mariota has definitely been working on that, but it's also hard to compare across, you know, conferences, and you know these teams are playing different teams. Listen, Jameis Winston and his Florida State Seminoles, they played some weak teams. They got behind against some weak teams. They were able to come back against some weak teams. And so I think that you have to consider that. You know, there's a lot of discussion about, you know, what the Titans will do at number 2. A lot of that I think is going to depend, obviously, on what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do at number 1. And it looks like, at least at this point, they have zeroed in, and it's going to be Jameis Winston, which will which will put the Titans in a position. Do they go with Marcus Mariota? Do they take Leonard Williams? You know, do they take one of the Kevin White, Amari Cooper? You know, there's a lot of different. Or do they trade back? Is there somebody enamored so much?
Yeah, I would be happy to give you my 12 and 19 for your 2.
Well, okay, we'll give it to you.
Not if Chip
if I was
I
the
love
GM,
Marcus Mariota. I've
it.
loved Mariota since he was a
I love
freshman
it
at Oregon.
too.
The Ducks are my
I love
second favorite
it
college team.
too.
I've been watching him for years, and I know the sad reality is my team is not good enough for him. He would get killed here the same way we killed Tim Couch and Colt McCoy and all these other rookie quarterbacks before him. I would hate to see him come here. But at the same time, if you're willing to make a deal, we could talk. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Tennessee move back and get themselves a couple picks from somebody
I think
else.
That would be the smart
sweet
move.
deal.
Yep. Yep. I agree. Oh boy. Yes, sir.
All right. But back to the let's go back to the Bengals, and I think it was you, Kate, that said that. I too am just a little bit, and I've been saying this for like 2 or 3 years now. At some point Marvin Lewis has to win a playoff game. I think how long is Cincinnati going to be content with being one and done?
Maybe they're just waiting law of averages that, okay, eventually he's gonna win. And to that I say we, as in the Detroit Lions, have only won one playoff game since 1950 whatever, so no, don't even play those averages. Just go ahead and fire him. It's okay.
I'm not saying they need to do make some big splash. I'm not saying leverage the farm for some crazy free agent. I don't even know exactly what it is they need. It just feels like the last couple years they haven't changed anything. And my dad used to say, if you always do what you always done, you'll always get what you always got. So if they don't change anything, they're going to get 10 or more wins, they're going to go to the playoffs, and they're going to lose. And I don't know what they need to change. I don't know enough about the Bengals to figure out what it is they need, but they need to do something. They can't just keep, like you said, the law of averages. Talk to a Detroit and a Browns fan about the law of averages and how many teams have either been to a Super Bowl or hosted one. I'm the only one who isn't even allowed to host one. So,
I was about to say, we've at least hosted, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, at least you got a nice house to have one at.
Oh, goodness, yeah.
I got a brand new stadium without a dome. I still need someone to explain to me how you spend that much money on a stadium in Cleveland on the lake and you don't put a lid on it. Hello.
Well, it's Cleveland. I was about to say, you're by the water. It's Cleveland. That's what it's all about. It's football in the north.
If you'd like to use that facility for more than 8 games a year, you should have put a lid on it. They were in a hurry to come back. They didn't want to take one more year and wait until 2000. And I said, we already lost our chance of getting Peyton Manning in the 98 draft because we didn't come back till 99. I'd have taken another year with no football for a dome. But nobody asked me. I was at home in the kitchen with babies where women are supposed to be. I know, I cracked me up too.
I was about to say, meanwhile, the Lions and Browns fans are duking it out over the Great Lakes trophy.
Hey, the Great Lakes barge is a big deal. I felt completely gypped last year when I found out there were 2. I thought there was just this one big, huge, heavy barge, and that they took it to each game, and whoever won got to keep it for a year. And then I found out there were 2 separate trophies. Yep. I'm like, that was like my Stanley Cup. It was my... I thought it was a cool thing, and instead it's just somebody's office crap. I'm so delusioned.
That is the funniest thing.
Nothing weighs more than I do. It is huge and heavy and hideous, but at least I thought it was one of a kind.
Dang, Browns fans can't even have that. I'm sorry.
We can't even have that.
Gwen, we've talked about this, but I want to ask you again. I miss the AFC Central. Everybody knows that. Who do the Ravens consider to be their biggest rival right now? Is it the Steelers?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. That's like what it's been. Oh, look at the puppy.
Yeah, puppy.
Can't see.
Hi, puppy.
We can't seem to beat the Bengals as much as we.
Oh yeah.
We can't seem to beat the Bengals, but it's always going to be the Steelers. It's the biggest rivalry. That's what everybody loves and gets off on, and just thinks it's the greatest thing. I don't have a problem as much with the Steelers as I said the Patriots, but we cannot beat the Bengals. That's what's frustrating to me.
Okay, so it's Who Day Nation right now, eh?
Yes.
Yes. Who Day?
Yes.
Outside the division, who do you consider it to be?
I don't know. Think about that one.
Okay, what about you?
Probably the Colts, maybe.
The Colts?
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of the Colts, they've had a nice off season.
They have. I like what they've done. I like what they've done a lot. They, getting Frank Gore, that's good. He's aged, but it's good. I think, they needed that run game. Yeah, that's good. And then they got, oh gosh, who else did
Andre
they get?
Johnson.
Yes, Andre Johnson. I was about to say,
My boo, Andre Johnson. Keeping it in the division.
Exactly. A lot of guys doing that. They've made some good moves. I like them. I like them a lot.
Well, and what I like about the moves is they're all moves that will make Andrew Luck a better quarterback.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because
I was about to say.
they play into his game. By having Frank Gore, now that defense has to worry about Frank running, or is Andrew going to run, or is he going to throw, and it just adds one more element. It all plays really well in with Andrew Luck's game. You see teams sometimes add pieces because they're big splashy moves or the big sexy guy to get, but he doesn't really fit with what you do or what your quarterback does. And all the moves I've been seeing out of the Colts this offseason, I'm just looking at them going, damn, they're stacked in that division. It's going to be hard to beat them.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. I wonder what happened what did happen, I guess, between Frank Gore and the Eagles? Like, was there ever really a deal that was made up?
Bryant called him and said, "Bro, you don't want to go play in Philly," and he was like, "I'm not going to go play in Philly."
Oh, okay, that's nice. They're like, no,
I'm being kind of funny, but there was a story out there saying that Des Bryant did call him and say, "Bro, you don't want to play in Philly," which I thought was weird because Des Bryant's never played in Philly.
Well, Bryant.
Exactly.
Well, maybe he was looking at all this stuff that Chip Kelly is doing. Is like, dude, that guy's kind of crazy.
Well, and Frank Gore's not getting any younger, and at least in Indy, he'll.
Oh.
I think do we lose Kate?
She might come back. She said she might have some technical
weather
difficulties.
Protected.
There we go.
Handle an AFC North team or NFC South or whatever that is. Philly's in NFC East. I mean, he doesn't need to be out in the weather. So it could be as simple as go play somewhere with a dome.
Yeah, it could be.
Listen, hey, whatever works,
Exactly.
Never get you a paycheck.
Boom. Again. Can I hold the clipboard, please? That's all.
All right, we've got just a few minutes left because we got started late. So sorry, everyone. I was having very much technical issues. Thank you very much to my girls for sticking with me. But in our last few minutes, let's talk about this Chris Borland thing. 24-year-old linebacker from the San Francisco 49ers announced late last night that he was retiring from the National Football League. What do you think about that?
Did he have a concussion at all his first year or have problems with it before? Because that's all I'm hearing.
Apparently he did. He had some in high school, grade school, middle school, high school-ish. I think he's had a couple. And then I guess he had the one last year. And so maybe he was just like, yeah, maybe he was, I think that was what was going on.
I respect it because he was up and coming, and he was ready to make a lot of money and do well, and they were counting on him. I respect it. I mean, these guys that are like, that's what you don't love the game enough and all. No, I respect it.
See, and I sound bitchy when I say things like this. I love football. I would carry a clipboard. I would carry a water bottle. I would kick a ball. I would be the towel girl. I would do whatever they wanted me to do to be with that team on that field on Sundays. And for him to say at 24 that he wants to retire because he's worried about his health just tells me he doesn't really love football. And it's a lot harder than he thought it was going to be. And it's not worth the money he was making for the injury risk and all the extra work if he doesn't really love it. And if he doesn't really love it, you have to be a little bit crazy, let's face it, a little bit crazy, maybe a lot bit crazy, aside from talented and everything else you have to be to play football. And if you don't feel that passion for it, go. And maybe it is a genuine concern over his health, but I just feel like if he really loved that game as much as I do, he'd still be playing.
I don't agree with that at all. I love Kate. Kate knows I love her.
No,
I know. Disagreeing
we
is
can
fine.
disagree.
Listen, I watched Jake Locker put his body on the line repeatedly during his time playing for the Tennessee Titans. He chose to walk away, saying that. Now, he did say that he just didn't have the passion for the game anymore. Chris Borland came out and said that he had done a lot of research and he knew, what the long-term effects could possibly be. I've seen what the effects can do personally, and I think that it's easy for us to sit here not having knots all over our bodies and not having those memory problems and not remembering that you're supposed to pick your child up from school and having your wife call you and say, why didn't you pick up our kid? And a guy saying, honey, I just forgot. I mean, these are all legitimate things that these guys go through, and I think that the Junior Sue thing really, he's out there in San Francisco, and he knows about that, and he knows, what that is all about, and he did a lot of research, and he was like, here's the thing, though, Chris Borland probably has options, There are a lot of guys playing in the National Football League that might not have the options,
right.
that he has, and so he's going to be fine. There are guys who don't have that many alternatives, and it's really sad when you look at what happens to some of these guys. The majority of them, I shouldn't say the majority, there are a number of them who, once they get out of the National Football League, once football is no longer an option for them, they end up in really bad situations. And if a guy is able to do that and walk away at a time when he's not going to have those concerns, you do have to respect it. I do sort of wonder. We'll see if it sticks. Maybe he says that this is it. He's not going to change his mind, that his mind made up. We'll see if it does stick, if he does, change his mind. But go out there and just Google Earl Campbell. See what's up with Earl Campbell.
I don't doubt the damage that can be done, and I guess it's his decision to make, and I respect his right to make that decision. But for me to really believe that it's all about the injury and what he's afraid of, I'll be interested to see what he does next. Because if that's really where he's coming from, and in his heart that's what he believes, he doesn't strike me as the kind of person who will just walk away from football and you'll never hear from him again. He'll start working with former players. He'll start working with high school and college.
He's been offered a job coaching.
To reform the rules. One of the things they keep trying to do to change the NFL and make it safer is they're changing the rules about how you can hit and where you can hit and all that kind of stuff. And for a lot of these guys, it's almost too late. They've been hitting this way since they were 10 years
It starts
old.
at that level.
It makes more sense. I went to a mom's seminar last year where they were teaching the kids in middle school and high school the proper way to tackle so that by the time they get to the NFL, they've been leading with their shoulder. They haven't had 6 concussions. They haven't had all these problems, so that while the NFL will remain the game that we love, it can still be safe. And so I just think, Chris Borland would be a great person to work with the NFL both on aftercare for guys when they leave. Because you're right, Sharona. I think one of the things that we all do, fans and teams alike, is when a guy is no longer good enough to play and we kick him to the curb, we don't go look to see what happened to him. And for a lot of them, sadly, they got no college education because all we wanted to do was watch football on Saturday. We didn't care if they passed their tests. You can say that's his fault all you want, but as fans, we contribute to that. And we just, once we're done with these guys, we just flush them. And it'd be interesting to see if the NFL can come up with some kind of a program for, after football. What do you do after football? How do you deal with not living in the limelight and not having somewhere to go every Sunday and not playing a game that you've been playing since you were a kid? You know what I mean? I don't know how you deal with the after part of that. Whether you were successful at the game or not, that after's just got to be rough.
Well, I think now they also have, because I know Brendan did it after he left the Ravens. Torrey is doing it now with these guys that they have these programs, these master's programs for these athletes and down in Miami to, finish up and get a master's, and so they can know what to do since they've been playing football, and now what are they going to do? So now they've created this educational opportunity.
And they've got diversity coaching programs now, too.
Yeah. And I was reading today, I guess they interviewed Chris Borland's dad, and he even said with his boys that he told them they were not allowed to play football until they started high school because he knew the risks. And he said, it was his choice, and he said it's not surprising to me at all that he made this decision, and it's his decision, it's what he wanted to do. And he's done a lot of research, he's a smart guy, and I'm going to support it. So it's obviously been a concern in the family for his dad not to,
Yeah, and I will say this. You can absolutely love something or someone with all your heart and walk away from it because you know that it's not good for you. And it doesn't take away, it doesn't mean that you didn't love that something or that person. It just means that you value yourself more to make sure that your long-term well-being is what's the most important. And I agree, Gwen. We don't. I wish we did. I like to go back and check up on guys and see what they're doing. There's not a lot of information out there. I think that is one area, and the NFL has come under criticism for that. One area where they haven't done very good is with their former players, and so we'll see, whether they continue to do a better job. As Gwen mentioned, there are programs out there. The Masters program is fantastic. There are the coaching programs and other things out there. So I think we're starting to see change. It'll be interesting to see whether any more younger players. These weren't the only two. Patrick Willis retired as well, and Jason Worlds from the Pittsburgh Steelers. So interesting. It's kind of interesting times in the National Football League. We'll see how that continues to grow and develop. So interesting.
It's very interesting. Well, thank you guys for coming on. We appreciate you as always, always, always. Next week we are super excited because I think it's NFC West week.
Are we gonna have the trash talk? I think we're having trash talk.
I think we're always gonna have trash talk because that's just what we do.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think I think next week is NFC West, so we'll talk NFC West, all the movement going on over there, and really, what is going on with San Francisco right now?
Has a team ever had a worse offseason? I don't think so.
I'm gonna say no, not at all, not at all. Oof. I think they might go 0-16 next year. What do you guys think?
For Tory's sake, I hope not.
I know. They're not going to. Nobody else is going to.
But yeah, it's been a little rough for them.
It's been a little bit tumultuous. If you look up tumultuous in the dictionary, it's the San Francisco 49ers right there. All right, everybody. Why don't you go around and tell us one more time where we can find you. We'll start with you, Miss Gwen.
I am Gwen. I am the official fan reporter for Baltimore Ravens for NFL Female. You can find me on Twitter at Gwen2475.
Awesome. Thank you so much again. And Miss Kate, our resident Buckeye.
I am Cleveland Kate, the official fan reporter for NFL Female, covering the Cleveland Browns. You can find me on Twitter at CLVLNDK, the letter 8. And there's information about my blog and my podcast on my Twitter account.
Woo! And I am Sonja. I am the official fan reporter for the Detroit Lions for NFL Female. You can find me on Twitter at mom, 2, 3RN. You can also find me, of course, writing about the Lions on NFL Female and writing on for a good sports hang weekly, and check them out. We talk all sports, any sports. And one more thing, a big shout out, congratulations to Calvin Megatron Johnson, who got engaged in Baltimore over the weekend. So yay, good for you. Sharona.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is.
Well, I am Sharona. I am the official NFL fan reporter for NFL Female. Be sure to jump on our website and check out all the latest and greatest articles, www.nflfemale.com. You can also find me at Pro Player Insiders, writing about the National Football League. I just did an article about the Chris Borland situation. You can check that out. And you can find me and my girl Sonja, who's agreed to come on my new podcast called Sharona Unfiltered in the morning.
So excited.
10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to do an hour and a half because we've run out of time on Monday. We're going to talk about, it's not entirely sports oriented. We're going to talk about an interview that Terry Crews did, former NFL player, comedian, actor, all-around good guy, and not too hard on the eyes, quite frankly.
Not at all. I've seen him up close and personal. I'll tell you about that tomorrow.
Oh, yay. We're going to talk about rap music. We're going to talk to my co-host on Game Over with Vasti and Sharona, and I'm not through with Ashley Judd and Dickie V, so stay tuned in for that. And we'll be back next week, and we thank you for tuning in. Shout out to Liz, of course, as always, and a big shout out to Kate and to Gwen for joining us. And Gwen doing double duty 2 times.
Yes, thank you, Gwen.
I really appreciate Gwen helping me out last week. Thanks again to her, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.